to be joined by our first guest of the evening. He is Legacy Fighting Alliance heavyweight title challenger, the 12-3 Richard, the Black Eagle Odoms. He is slated to vie for that Legacy Fighting Alliance title on June 30th at Legacy Fighting Alliance 15 against, I think that's Jared Vanderaa. I think that's the correct pronunciation name. How are we feeling tonight, Richard?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, man. Sometimes it's easy to say these guys' names. Sometimes it ain't. Like it's one of the things that me and Brad laugh about sometimes, where we get some of these names. It's like, all right, let's see how this one is pronounced. So
yeah, I totally understand.
When you have a multicultural sport like this, it gets interesting at times.
Yes, sir.
But how about you, man? How's your Father's Day been so far, man?
Father's Day's been good. It's been just chilling out at home, so it's been real good as far as that. I just like to be at home and get lazy a little bit again because I've been training as hard as I can. So not missing that rest day though.
Oh yeah.
So Black Eagle.
I think that's one of the things that people forget about in MMA is the most important thing is the rest day. Like obviously you have the strength and conditioning, your boxing, your jiu-jitsu, etc. But I think people underestimate that with the rest times because if you don't get the proper rest and you're beaten up, tired, what's the point of what's going to happen fight night if you're not properly healed up and feeling good when that cage door closes? If you've already been beaten down to the point when you get in there, you've got almost nothing to give. What's the point at the end of the day, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Totally. I totally understand that and totally agree with that. At my age, I can't have any mistakes like that.
Hey, Black Eagle, this is Brad Storm. Real quick, Steve.
Okay.
Hey, you talk about relaxation. Hey, I know it's Father's Day. It's a big day. A, did you get anything special from the kids on Father's Day? And B, what does your day entail as far as being relaxed? You watching TV, watching movies, playing some video games? What are you doing?
I was just hanging around, watching TV, hanging around with the family, eating, things along those lines, watching the little movies if there is something on, something good to watch, playing on social media, just taking a little time to myself, not really to myself, but just taking a little time off from the hustle and bustle of the week. So, yeah, this is just a recharge day for me.
I'm 41 years old, and it's really interesting. You're 42 years old. Like, if you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self, like, what would you tell him differently to do as far as maybe getting into MMA and combat sports? Is there anything different you would do, or tell that person, hey, young me, don't do this?
I would think more wrestling. I wouldn't really change a lot of stuff. More wrestling. The jiu-jitsu, I would step that up as well, only because I come from an era where there was more striking going on, and being good at that was a priority back then. So with that being said, then grappling came onto the scene and changed things up. So because it's San Antonio, Texas, we don't have a lot of wrestling or anything like that here. The jiu-jitsu is probably the only thing that really brought any type of wrestling to San Antonio. So with that being said, not like upstate, you have a lot of wrestling programs and it's in the schooling and things of that sort. Just don't have that now. Other than that, that's probably the only things I would tell my younger self.
Now, to kind of play off that one, I mean, where you're at in your life and your career, we see what your record says, but also, you're 42 years old, or there's nothing to hide there. But also, you've had some weird situations because, when I was looking up about you, seeing that, at one point in time, a few years ago, you were signed by the UFC, but before you even had a chance to get in there, they released you and and didn't really see anything like injury or politically wise why they would do it. Like, now seeing how all these opportunities, like we were just talking about how Dana White's having this Challenger Series, and I'm starting to see some of the ages of some of these guys are bringing on there. There's a heavyweight that's 36, 37 years old that's going to be on this Challenger Series, which basically is going to be a door into the UFC. Seeing kind of what happened to you, does that kind of leave a bad taste in your mouth, or not really concerned with that anymore? You have the Legacy Fighting Alliance title fight coming up here against a game opponent in Jared, and it's kind of furthest from your mind.
Yeah, it is the first thing from my mind. But talking about that, as far as that, I did make it all the way to the UFC and got signed by the UFC. The big thing that happened with that was I ended up having a tear in my eye. I had a tear in my retina. So with that being said, it wasn't anything that I received as far as injury-wise, but it was something that I'd had a detached retina before that got repaired, and we needed to get that thing fixed. And because I wasn't ready when they needed me to be ready, that's when they went ahead and cut me from the situation.
Oh, wow.
With all the fighters, you see them stick around after injuries. When you look at that heavyweight division now, you look outside of the top 10. I can't see why a guy like you wasn't there. They need feel good stories and characters. You're a police officer who's also moonlighting as an MMA fighter, and a pretty damn good one to boot. Why wouldn't you want a guy like that around where you see so many of these, some of these guys that wind up in the UFC? You just seen UFC fighter Josh Grisby just basically get sentenced to jail time. You just seen what happened to the War Machine. That they stuck around with him probably a little bit longer than they probably should. But when you see situations like that, and then they see what they kind of did with you, yeah, granted you did have an eye injury in the past. It is a pretty bad thing, but it's something that can be corrected. It's not something that is insurmountable, or the commission basically deemed you basically put a red flag that, hey, this guy can't fight because of his eye injury or whatever. But like I said, it's just one of these frustrating things that the political side of MMA gets irritating at points in time.
Well, I don't really know if it was political. I think it was just the card that I was on. It had gotten demoted, and so I got as a first time comer to the UFC. It was already short notice. Now I was a part of the card, the actual on TV card. So it wasn't. It was just an opportunity that was missed, not because of my fault or their fault, but it was more along the lines of just misfortune. That's all it was, just bad luck at the time. So with that being said, I don't look at it like that. I had an injury, great, fantastic, an injury that would have been ready. Go time, I would have been healed up. Doctor would have cleared me. I would have been ready to rock. But it just wasn't enough for them. So what they did is they went ahead and went about make their decision, and that's cool. I'm cool with that. With that being said, I should be at the top of that division right now. I should be in there mingling with all the heavyweights that are there. With that being said, I just wish that things would have changed a little bit, but I've been fortunate. So with that being said, I was able to go to Japan, able to go to Philippines, Russia, got all these new experiences based off of that. So it was a blessing in disguise.
Richard, you have to have a good story from one of those areas. Come on, man. Good story from Russia. Come on, somewhere.
I always fall back on Russia. Russia is the craziest country to go to. I had never been outside of the border of the U.S. state, the United States. So with that being said, we flew over to Russia, almost 24, 28-hour flight type situation. It ended up in Vladivostok. Vladivostok, you don't have any black people. I happen to be black. So, like a scary rock star status getting off the plane. Oh my God! With that being said, I got there. Good promotion. The promotion is awesome. Everything that went on was pretty good. It was just because it was in Russia. It was just a whole different ball game. I get there. They're coming to pick me up. Two guys in big fur coats with a little fur collar pick me up, and they're asking me, "Hey, are you Richard Odoms?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if I should answer that question."
I might be.
About to walk off with me. I'm like, "Come on, guy," and I'm 7,000 miles away from home. Oh no. So I go, yeah. I go, I'm Richard Odoms. I had Pete Spratt with me, and had Emmanuel Newton who was with us as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
With that, it was a crazy. You know, I got to meet those guys, so it was crazy. So I got with them. We got on the Land Rover, which is classic Russia. I got in the Land Rover. Started going down the highway. We're almost causing crashes going down the highway because people are seeing other black people and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even know these guys existed. I thought it was just on TV." So, man, we're almost causing crashes going over to the hotel. Well, the hotel was about 30 minutes away from the airport. When we get to the hotel, man, it was like something crazy. Like, if you ever been to a 24-hour like hotel where you go in, you can pay by the hour or something like that. That's what it felt like.
We had the Claremont Lodge in Atlanta, so that was kind of sketchy. But yeah, I got you.
Yes. So, being a police officer, yeah, I do frequent those places because I happen to make calls and things along those lines. I didn't know I would be staying in another country in the same type setting.
Wow.
Russia was cool, but it was crazy.
Well, how cold was it?
It wasn't that cold. It was about 40. You know, I expected it to be a lot lower than that, but it was about 40 at nighttime, and it was decent during the day, or 60s or so. And then he was just making that thing a whole crazy, funny type situation because I'm rooming with him, and it was just crazy. I couldn't even fit in the bed. The bed that they had, my feet were hanging off the end of it, and he was just cracking that. It was that whole trip was crazy. Oh man, that was a crazy trip, and then the fight and everything else was fine. It's just a lot of stuff that usually doesn't happen over in the States, like here or in Russia or in the United States. Anywhere you go and you fight, they have the people that are there back there watching you and making sure you're not taking anything, making sure your wraps are going to be standard, make sure the gloves are going to be great. There was nobody in Russia. I was like, man, they were doing some crazy stuff in the back. I was like, man, I don't know if this is the right place, but I'm like 6,000 miles away from home. Let me go ahead and get this over with and do the best I can and move from it. But no, it was crazy. Japan was also crazy, but in a flip side, in a nice way. If you've ever been to Japan and you've ever been to an MMA event, my goodness, I'm in the cage. Usually, when I'm in the cage, I kind of zone out the crowd. I'm in there. We're fighting. I have the guy up against the cage. I'm hitting him with knees and things of that sort. He goes ahead, and Pete's in my corner. He talks to me in just like if we're talking right now, and I can hear every word that he's saying. And I had to look at him for a second to, like, realize what the hell I was going. It was so quiet. Once the action took place, you could talk to each other like no problem. Hey, go ahead and hit that knee real quick. Odoms, go ahead and do this. Go ahead and turn off that cage, get them turned around. It was just like that. I had looked at him, I was like, this is crazy. But no, it was awesome in Japan. Japan was a whole different ball game. So, and being able to go overseas, that was, after getting released from the UFC, I thought that was an awesome blessing to be able to do that and be able to go fight in those countries. That was just an awesome time for me.
I mean, it's like I say, there's usually silver linings into every situation. Some like I said, you kind of already touched on it. May have not have worked out exactly what you planned it, but I always say experiences are worth more than anything money could ever give you. I feel the same way about my kids. If I can't buy them every single solitary goofy toy that they want or whatever, so be it. I would rather have them enjoy experiences than material things. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Because you can't never get rid of those things. So you can't get rid of those memories. Those memories, I will always go. I want to be talking about Russia for a long damn time. It's just an awesome type of situation, man.
Oh,
can't miss those.
I think it's funny you bring up Russia because it's what I remember like when I first started like getting into listening to podcasts and whatever. Listening to one of the experiences, I think it was like a Bert Kreischer and Rogan were talking about some crazy experience they had in Russia, and even going back to the early cage side submission day pre Mr. Storm. It's we were talking to Julie Ketsy before she retired, and she has some even crazier Russia stories. So when you started saying Russia, I'm like, oh no, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, Russia's different.
It's funny you say that because there's always some crazy story about some fighter when they went to Russia. It's beyond me. But I want to get your take on some things. Like a lot of things have happened in MMA over the last week. We were talking about it earlier on the show. The unfortunate, untimely passing of former UFC veteran heavyweight Tim Hague. Way it's looking, granted, regardless of what happened during the fight, what looked like there's a couple strikes that weren't seen that probably probably should have been stopped earlier than that, before he was completely knocked out. But we always argue and harangue referees about this, that, and the third. I don't want to completely put it on the referee, but the fact that he was given a 60-day medical suspension on April 7th, and the fact that he was in a ring, getting paid to put hands on another human being is beyond me. It absolutely is. It's one of the things that I still think the sport still has a long way to go in certain areas. I mean, to me, the big thing to wrap my head around is what do you say to that guy's kids? Me and Brad were talking, like a lot of these commissions, they really don't care about you guys' well-being, what happens after the money comes in for that event. And it's just one of the things that, it's just sad and disheartening. I don't know how else to kind of put it into terms, but I mean, it's just a bad look all the way around for the commission, for the fighter, for the sport. It's just today, regardless if it's a good day for us walking around this earth, but somewhere else there was a mother, a father, a son, a daughter that that lost someone very dear to them. It's just a bad situation.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. When it comes to promotions, nobody's going to care about you more than you're going to care about yourself, and you have to put yourself first. And if I could talk to any young fighter listening, you have to put yourself and your health first. The knowledge that the medical community has about brain injuries and things of that sort are not up to par, in my speaking. I had a concussion during my boxing career. I did a little stint in boxing and professional boxing, and I had a concussion. I received a concussion, and I didn't listen. It's easy to kind of overlook like a head injury because you don't see anything. There's nothing there. There's nothing that tells you, hey, it gives you a reminder like a big purple blob on your head or a big bruise or something along those lines that kind of gives you, hey, kind of take it a little easy with that, or pain along those lines. It takes a while for concussions and things along those lines to heal up. The worst condition that you have, it may take longer for you to not have that contact, to not engage in that sport in order to get well. And a lot of fighters don't know anything about that. They get concussed or they get knocked out and they think it's okay and go right back to training next week. You can't. You can go and you can do some light stuff, and you can't take any contact. You can't get hit. You can't do anything along those lines that's going to prolong that injury for you, and you have to be able to sit yourself down and say, hey, what's most important? Most important needs to be the fighter. The fighter needs to look at itself first before he...
Now, I'm just saying, like I said, just doing some more scrolling around this. I've seen another elder, veteran heavyweight say this. You just put this out. This is Tony Kryptonite Lopez. Just a thought, but wouldn't a lot of major head injuries be prevented maybe after a hard fight, repeated blows to the head, not necessarily a KO or TKO, but, that a doctor recommends a CAT scan of the head within a week of the fight, and actually have these promoters or the insurance covering those promoters cover the CAT scan to make sure that these guys aren't really having, like, serious problems when it comes to that. Because a lot of times, unless you get told to go to the hospital and the doctor recommends a CAT scan, a fighter's not going to get their head checked out afterwards. Let's say you're in a fight and winds up going 3.5 minutes, but it's one of those fights where you guys both grit down on your mouthpiece and start throwing bombs at one another. You get tagged a couple times and hurt, bounce back, tag him a couple times and put him away. But no one's going to bother looking at you because you won the fight. They're going to pay more attention to that guy who's hurt. Who's to sit there and say that you weren't giving concussive blows to the fact where you have a concussion? And then who's to sit there and say, an opportunity comes up where, hey, Richard, Bellator just gave you a call. Matt Mitrione got hurt. We need you to fight Fedor in a few days, and then pass you, and something happens at that fight. Nothing, no one's going to be able to say like, oh, well, why didn't somebody do a CAT scan on this guy between fights? Because there's there's nothing put in place for it. Like I said, as much as we love the sport and how far it's come, there's a lot of things that need to happen. I mean, look how long it took before things changed in the NFL. Even to this day, like they had it put in writing that they never had to publicly state when they knew that this was an issue with the head injury.
Yes.
Granted, there's been payouts and stuff like that, but they had to. It basically covered their own tracks where they had to say, yes, this is an issue, but we're not going to tell you when we knew about this. Scary time, man, especially when it comes to combat sports of that nature.
Yeah, for the fighter standpoint, if you're not feeling well and things along those lines, you shouldn't be taking fights. You should be, and I have a job, so that kind of gives me the leeway or the safety net to be able to say, I don't want that fight, or I'll take that fight. But it is what it is.
But you look at it as most of you guys.
For that.
Good. But you look at it, most of you guys have a 9-to-5, where it's not live all be all. I mean, some of these guys out there that they're trying to make their hopes and dreams come true off it, but I say to all these guys, you guys need to have a backup plan, not just rely just on what happens in MMA. you need to have something to fall back on. Like, I know I'm kind of biased when it comes to this, but I talked to Paul Felder. Paul has a degree from the University of Arts. He can turn around and retire after his next fight and go start acting if he wants, or go start, taking a TV gig. So, like, some of these guys have backup plans. Most of them, they get lucky where you get a situation like Michael Bisping and Tyron Woodley and Kenny Florian have these opportunities to be analysts on Fox Sports, where they have alternate means of income. Not all these fighters are going to have that opportunity. So,
yes.
I say to these guys, make sure you take care of your families, but also make sure you do something to either in business opportunities or further your education to make sure that making it as a professional mixed martial artist isn't your end all be all.
Most definitely.
Richard, Steve, come on. When you look at the thing, the average cost of a CT scan is $1,200. You're not going to be friggin' CT scanning every guy that fights every time there's a big card coming up. And as far as the smaller promotions, you're definitely not going to get that going on because they don't even have any health coverage. So we're talking about buku's amounts of money. I don't know what they do in the NFL anymore, but, with Tom Brady's situation where he was hiding concussions, guys, they might not get knocked out and still have a concussion, but you think they're going to tell? They're going to tell anybody they got a concussion so they can't fight for how many months? No, they're not going to tell anybody.
Of course
because
they're not.
This is their livelihood.
It's
but
blind,
it's going to come down to
fraud.
money.
It's blind,
and CT scans are, and they vary from state to state, the pricing. So
they do.
I
know it's
I think the UFC could do it, but
you're right. The UFC could, but I agree it is harder on some of these smaller promotions. But dude, something has to be done to prevent stuff. Like we were talking about it a few months ago with what Elizabeth Phillips did. She wound up fighting on an Invicta card. She gets knocked out fairly early in the fight. 30 days later, remember she'd gotten a 60-day suspension from the knockout she received in Kansas City. 30 days later, she's fighting on an Indian reservation in an unsanctioned fight. What happens if she got knocked out again in that fight?
And Poltergeist shows up.
Yeah, that's where I would be, as far as an improvement would be, hey, when you're going to get your license, because a lot of fighters are fighting all over the country, going to different countries and fighting and things along those lines. So the system is there where you have to go get your license. If it's going to be your first time getting your license there, you should be CT scanned. End of story. That way, okay, your license in California, you have a CT scan, great, fantastic. You go to any other state, you're going to have a CT scan for that particular state, whatever place is licensing you to fight, so that there shows some type of responsibility going on there. And I think that would be on the fighter, which sucks, but at the same time, on the other end, promotions and things of that sort needs to start putting up money in order to get things done as far as that situation. If you're going to have a CT scan, hey, you're going to have to raise up my pay a little bit in order to cover that CT scan.
I agree with that aspect of it, but like I said, the sport is still young. There's still a lot of things that need to be situated. I have to continue to remind myself at the end of the day that MMA is really only 20, 30 years old. We look at the NFL; they still haven't gotten it right, and they're approaching 70, 80 years now, and they still haven't perfected it. Boxing's been around even longer, and they still haven't perfected it. So, we like to get on top of our soapbox and say this, that, and the third, but at the same time, there's a reason for it. Something like this could have been prevented, but unfortunately, it wasn't. And this guy, was exploited for his name or whatever. Took a fight he probably shouldn't have taken and paid the ultimate price, unfortunately.
Yeah. And as fighters, we think that we can go out there and we can do everything, I blame it. Majority of the blame goes to the fighter, because the fighter knows what he goes through. He knows what type of training he puts himself through. When you're going in there and you're sparring, and this is where I take majority of my damage. I don't take damage during fights. During sparring and during just regular training is where all the damage happens. So I'm like, the fighter knows what he's going through. And if he can't control himself as far as taking these fights, you got to put a little blame on the fighter, because the fighter knows if you get knocked out with a jab, something's wrong, something's seriously wrong, and you need to get checked out. Something's going on. If you get knocked out during training, which I think you should never get knocked out during training. But if you get knocked out during training, you can get CAT scanned or something. Something needs to be checked, because something's not right. But you can't monitor these fighters like that. So it is what it is. I feel that pay needs to go up, and with the DJ incident and all these other fighters that are coming out and really pushing the pay situation, I feel that this is a good thing for the fighter, as far as them being able to supplement their income and being able to provide their family with food on the table, and being able to still get the training that they need to get, and being sufficient. This is where the sport needs to go.
You don't got no disagreement with me there, brother. You guys don't get compensated nearly half as much as you should, and there's something needs to change in that aspect.
Yeah.
But
other than that, man,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, you're good.
Oh yeah, I was just realizing the time. Yeah, just getting ready to wrap up the end of the interview. What we typically do at the end of each interview is kind of throw the proverbial microphone over to you. Anyone you would like to thank, training partners, teammates, shoot out your social media sites, any sponsors you might have, charities you're working with, anything you want to say at all. The time is yours, my friend.
I'd like to thank my wife, first off, because she helps everything go well. With everything that I got going on, I got the work as a police officer. I also teach at a school, and then I also train, so I'm everywhere all the time. She kind of keeps hold of my schedule and keeps family in order while I'm away. So it helps out a lot with her. I want to thank everybody that's supporting me as far as my sponsors and things along those lines. I'll be here all day if I go ahead and start calling people out. So I don't want to miss anybody, and I really don't want to take up a lot of time and do that. But with that being said, this fight coming up with LFA is 15 is going to be an awesome fight. Need everybody to come out and support that thing. With that being said, it's going to be an awesome fight. That's going to be an awesome fight. I plan on bringing out the best performance that I've ever put out, and got some new and surprising things that should be coming up. And with this being said, Jared Vanderaa, I feel, is going to be a perfect opponent that's going to make the fight exciting. So I think this is going to be a great opportunity for both of us. Coming back home with that belt is going to be awesome.
I think you might have the upper hand in this one. Really like the matchup for you. I think it's a fun matchup on paper for the fans, and I think it plays into your strengths, and hopefully you get to bring that LFA title back home and do your thing, man. I don't believe that. I believe you're probably going to be their first, considering this is I don't remember anyone else grabbing that title recently. So yeah, man, definitely. I'm definitely rooting for the Black Eagle on this one. Nothing against Jared, but I just think you have the experience and the drive, the hunger to get you this title. I know it probably means more to you than you're letting on to, but you got to keep some things sacred, so can't blame you there. Other than that, what we tell our guests, man, best of skill on the upcoming fight on the 30th. Guys, it's going to be, LFA 15. I believe it's going to be on Access TV. So, make sure you got if you're not going to be able to watch it live, man, make sure you got a DVR because I'm sure it's going to be action-packed.
Yes. I plan on making it action-packed as long as the fight goes the way I want it to go. And it like I said, there's a lot of blessings that are coming with this situation. So, man, I can't even be anything but grateful for the opportunity to be able to do this, opportunity to be able to talk with everybody here. It's been great. And then with that being said, me being the old guy, I like being able to go out there and pummel up on some young kids. So it is what it is.
You don't get enough of that being a cop, though. I mean, I'm sure you get some kids you just want to kind of beat them onto the right track. But isn't that why you do MMA, to kind of get those aggressions out there?
Oh yeah, I'm a mellow officer. With that being said, the training that you're going through, beating up on each other constantly, I have nothing left. When I go to work, hey, I'm trying to talk my way out of a lot of things and do things and try to avoid that situation. But if it arises, hey, you asked for it, so it is what it is.
I feel bad for the one person that thinks they're going to be able to get the upper hand on you, man. Again, Richard, thanks for your time this evening, and definitely looking forward to have you back on here again in the future. Hopefully after that title win, man.
No problem, sir. Anytime.
Awesome. Definitely I would love to have you back on, my friend. You have a good one and enjoy the rest of your holidays, man.